Shabbat Shalom. Steven Spielberg's Jaws is a movie about a terrifying great white shark which is lurking just beneath the surface of the water. But before we ever see the shark, a full hour into the film, we know it's there. So if we don't see the shark, how do we know it exists? Because the music of composer John Williams makes us believe it's there. His music, which embodies the unseen shark, is as simple as it gets. It's just two notes that are only a half step apart. Ba-dum. You cannot write a simpler musical phrase, and yet that's all it takes. Two notes, just a half step apart. Ba-dum. To make us believe in a 25-foot, 9,000-pound shark. That's the power of music. That's the power of music to make us believers. Cantor David Tilman, in his 5 decades of spiritual leadership here in the Elkins Park community, used the power of music to connect us to God, because we cannot see God, but through the power of music, we are believers. So I'm honored to speak to you this morning on behalf of Cantor Tilman and to see so many lifelong friends here. I'm among the many thousands of lives who were profoundly influenced by Cantor Tilman's work. Chazan Tilman considers the central cantorial mission to be, quote, to make great Jews, and along the way, to make great music. By both measures, Chazan, you have succeeded exceptionally. Congratulations. David Tilman possesses a unique pedigree as a cantor, theologian, and musician. He studied religion at Columbia University, trained as a cantor at the Jewish Theological Seminary, and earned a master's degree in choral conducting from the Juilliard School. I'll mention this just once. He's also an incredible accordion player. He arrived at Beth Sholom Congregation in 1975 from the Park Avenue Synagogue in New York, and once here, he soon built an award-winning music and performing arts program that would come to be recognized nationally and internationally for its excellence. As we've just heard, Chazan created an adult choir, a children's choir, a teenage choir. He took these choruses to New York, Israel, Eastern Europe, and Cuba. And these choirs have been known at Beth Sholom and KI for their quality and zealous participants. At Beth Sholom, he started a Chazanut program that trained young congregants to lead services, a Torah club to read Torah. He led those musical theater productions. He mounted these incredible spring Zimriyah concerts right here in this sanctuary with 100 or more singers and a full symphony orchestra. And he brought in for those concerts notable figures right here into this room like Sol Zim, Cantor Alberto Mizrahi, Stephen Schwartz of Wicked, and Leonard Nimoy, yes, Captain Spock, right here. Through these deeply enriching musical programs, he taught us how to daven, how to make music together, and how to become more connected to Judaism. He used the language of music to bring together thousands upon thousands of Jews as worshipers, performers, and listeners. And Chazan built incredibly strong ties within families. He bridged 4 generations of my family. He trained my brother Jason and I for our bar mitzvahs, my grandmother Sylvia of blessed memory, and my father Alan, both sung in his choirs, and my mother Paula played clarinet in his various ensembles. He officiated my wedding to my wife Catherine. Unfortunately, she's the final victim of the flu in our household. She's not with us this morning, but our 2 incredible children, Sarah and Evan, are here, and this past summer, Chazan attended Sarah's bat mitzvah. And then there are the ways that he impacted us as individuals. I myself have treasured memories singing in Chazan Tilman's choirs and traveling to Israel with him. He trained me to lead Shacharit services in this shul, lead high holiday services, and read the Megillah on Purim. I played trumpet in his musicals and in his marching band for the Israeli Independence Day Parade downtown. We sang together at the Academy of Music, and now, as an adult, Chazan and I have collaborated on professional projects at the Philadelphia Orchestra and the Kimmel Center, and whenever I have a question about Jewish music or Jewish composers, he's my first and only call. There's one particular experience that I had with Chazan Tilman that truly set me on my path in life, for which I am forever grateful, and I'll just share that quickly. Leonard Bernstein wrote a piece called Chichester Psalms, which sets 5 texts from the book of Psalms. Chazan Tilman led a performance of this work in 1989, right here in this space. The middle movement of this piece, Bernstein wrote a beautiful melody, which is sung by a boy soprano. That year, I was the solo boy soprano. The text is from Psalm 23. It begins with those words, Adonai ro'i lo echsar. Those words, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, are often associated with the end of life. But for me, those represented a beginning. Those words, those notes, were an awakening for my passion for music. While learning the Chichester Psalms, I became enraptured with the music of Leonard Bernstein and with the sound of an orchestra. That's my origin story. That's the beginning of my lifelong journey into the world of symphonic music that led me to where I am today. So thank you, Chazan, for that incredible experience. David Tilman davened with Leonard Bernstein. He met him at the Academy of Music. And Leonard Bernstein is still an inspiration to so many of us in the musical world. Leonard Bernstein was a conductor, composer, and educator. He was also the greatest proselytizer of music. Bernstein once said, "Music can name the unnameable and communicate the unknowable." Interestingly, he said that in 1976, the years after Jaws came out, so I guess he saw the movie too. As a composer, Leonard Bernstein's scores were very much influenced by his Jewish faith. For example, his most successful work, his Broadway show, West Side Story, in the prologue, there's an opening 3-note call, which is clearly reminiscent of a shofar call on Rosh Hashanah, Tikiyah. His largest scale work, Mass, which he dedicated to the memory of President John F. Kennedy, commingles Latin and Hebrew texts with the Jewish ethos of questioning. Leonard Bernstein connected people of all faiths and backgrounds through his music. Bernstein set the model for musical leaders like Chazan Tilman to be proselytizers for their communities, uniting faith and music. In this regard, Chazan Tilman built a greater awareness for Jewish music by amassing large choral performances, not only locally here at Beth Sholom and at KI, but throughout Philadelphia. He mounted concerts to celebrate Leonard Bernstein's centennial. His programs entitled Sing Hallelujah, that were presented at the Kimmel Center, brought together congregational singers from throughout the Delaware Valley to perform an array of Jewish music. And he amassed this amazing library of commissioned arrangements of Jewish music for chorus and orchestra that will be available for generations to come. These are among the many ways that Chazan Tilman played a vital role in the preservation of Jewish music. But let's ask, what is Jewish music? Is Jewish music Johnny Marks's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or Irving Berlin's White Christmas? Is it Harold Arlen's Somewhere Over the Rainbow or Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah? Fiddler on the Roof, West Side Story, Wicked, George Gershwin's jazzy Rhapsody in Blue, or is it Aaron Copland's setting of the Shaker religious melody, Simple Gifts? Is Jewish music Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, or is it Adon Olam sung to the Star Trek theme on Purim? Truth be told, Jewish music is all of these things. Neil Levin, who is the artistic director of the Milken Archive for Jewish Music, writes of this subject, saying that historically, over time, Jewish music starts to sound like the music of its host environment. I believe that no matter the musical vocabulary, Jewish music is any music that intrinsically reflects Jewish values, Jewish life, or the Jewish experience. Rudolph is just an outsider trying to fit in with all the other reindeer, the quintessential Jewish American experience, right? Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah speaks to a crisis of faith so common amongst post-World War II Jews. But while Jewish music, sacred and secular, comes in many different forms, from Torah Trup to Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline, Chazan Tilman has played an extremely important role in preserving and propagating the music specifically of prayer. He is part of an important cantorial tradition of American conservative Judaism that stretches back over a century. And as a teacher at the Jewish Theological Seminary, he's trained the next generation of cantors and choral conductors. He's maintained traditional cantorial melodies and continually searched for new ways to bring the text of our prayers to life, give them deeper meaning, and to expand our musical horizons. I, like so many of you, am able to join a minyan anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, from Munich to Shanghai, and find the comfort of at least one melody, if not more, thanks to our worship alongside Chazan Tilman. That's the power of music to reach all corners of our world. Music is perhaps the most important thing to preserve for the future of our faith and our Jewish culture. Music is what endures, because great societies and cultures are remembered for their music, their art, their poetry, above all else. John F. Kennedy said in 1962, "I am certain that after the dust of centuries has passed over our cities, we too will be remembered not for victories or defeats in battle or politics, but for our contributions to the human spirit. This will be the ultimate mark of the Jewish people, what we contributed to the culture of the world, and this is what Chazan Tilman dedicated his life to safeguarding and passing on." Allow me to tell one final story here on a Shabbat morning about a Sunday Catholic Mass. Pope Francis, may he make a full recovery to health, came to visit Philadelphia in 2015. The Philadelphia Orchestra was invited by the Archdiocese to perform an outdoor Sunday Mass led by the Pope himself. It was to be attended by 1 million people on the Parkway and televised to billions worldwide. Leading up to the event, I met regularly, often once a week for several hours at a time, with the rector of the Basilica, who was in charge of the musical selections for the Mass. In each meeting, we went over the run of the Mass in great detail. Together, we collaborated on exact melodies and arrangements that would be part of this particular papal Mass. We went over every part of the service, the Kyrie, the Sanctus, the responsorials, meditations, and so on, with care to match every melody and harmonization with the gravity of the occasion, just as one would for a special Shabbat Yom Kippur service. At our final meeting before the Mass, the rector leaned over to me and said, "Jeremy, I've been meaning to ask, but what is your faith background?" I said, "Father, I'm Jewish." He seemed a bit too surprised. He inquired how I knew so much about Catholic liturgical music. I explained how I'd studied musicology in college, which starts with learning the music and rituals of the Catholic Church, which, by the way, I was well prepared for, as there are more than a few similarities between the Latin Mass and Jewish services and cantorial chanting I learned from Chazan Tilman. The priest and I then shared a beautiful conversation about the inseparable connection between music and faith. I related my Chichester Psalms origin story. I described the many formative musical experiences I'd had at Beth Sholom Congregation, and we shared our views on how music unifies us all, how essential it is to our respective faiths, and connects our families and communities. To again quote our first Catholic president, "Art reminds us that the forces that unite us are deeper than those that divide." No matter our faith, our race, music radiates from our most joyful moments and emerges out of the most dark and dehumanizing experiences. Jews in concentration camps, inmates at Sing Sing. Music is how we express the resilience of our human spirit. This is precisely why authoritarians, politicians, oligarchs have historically, and still today, take a fascination in the arts, seeking to limit the freedom of our artistic expression. That's because music has the power to unite us. to express our most personal feelings, to span generations, to reach every corner of the world, and to bring us closer to God. Music has the power, with just 2 simple notes, to make us all believe in something bigger than ourselves. So this is the power that rests with us to carry the music of the Jewish people and therefore Jewish culture into the future for generations to come. A final quote from Cantor Tilman. He reflected on his life's work, stating, "This musical endeavor has succeeded in making an impact on future generations of American Jews. There was no other way to do that than through music, ensuring not only the future of Jewish music, but of Jews." Cantor Tilman, thank you for your decades of service to the Jewish community and to Jewish music and the Jewish people. Well done. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shkoach. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I want to thank Jeremy for those inspiring and beautiful words, not only of our Chazan, but of the power of music.